Hey everybody, Real with Wes, day 2 coming at you here, talking about can you see others? Hope everybody's doing well today and everybody's doing great. So let's get right on into this thing. Many a times what I'm talking about, here, can you see others? What I'm really starting to deal with is what blinds us from seeing others. Because if you kind of just remove the blinders, man, you can automatically see people. But it's not allowing darkness and veilness to cover up us being empathetic and us being, when I say empathetic, if you really understand the word, it's being able to really see someone and put yourselves in their shoes, even though you can't perfectly ever put yourselves in their shoes, and being understanding and being saying, you know what, whether it's right or wrong for the moment, I can understand you and not devalue you as a person at your core. And when you don't understand how to do that, that's where you're walking in darkness, is what it is. And we're, as a Christians, God was like, hey, we're supposed to be walking in light. Because that was the thing, when you follow Jesus through this whole thing, he could see people beyond their issues, beyond their flaws, beyond their mistakes. Not saying, hey, I want you to live in the darkness of that, but the fact is I can reach out to you and extend a hand to you without coming across against you or especially weaponized. That's the other thing. So one of the things that comes real big where we start being like, I can't be able to see people where they are. Let me read this in 1 Corinthians, Paul was talking about here. It's in chapter 1. He also dealt with it in chapter 3. But it says in verse 12, some of you are saying, I'm a follower of Paul. Others saying, I follow Apollos. Others follow Peter. Or I only follow Christ. Verse 13, he said, has Christ become divided into factions? Was I, Paul, crucified for you? Were any of you baptized in the name of Paul? Of course not. So what he's dealing with, here's this weaponized version of, well, this person led this way, this person taught this way. It's kind of like, hey, saying, well, I'm a follower of Pastor Wes, or I'm a follower of Pastor, or I'm a follower of this minister or that minister nowadays, and forget everybody else. And it's easy to miss people when we think that we're right in all things. It's easy not to be able to see people when we think we're the most elite, most exclusive, superior race of religion necessarily. Let me say it that way, not race, but religion is what we're talking about. This has been kind of the downfall many a times when, we've seen over history where it's like even in the Christian world, it was turn or burn, or even to the point of, hey, get on our team with Christianity, or here's the sword. And those things have happened. And we still do that today. We do it with, not with a sword of physical sword, but a sword with our words, a sword with our brands, our organizations. You can do that and become a part of that, where we start feeling it's us versus them all the time. And when you fall into that downward spiral, we do this over our politics. It's us versus them all the time, the war and the machine and the back and the forth, and it's tearing down until there's nothing left, not realizing both sides are attached to the same thing. The same machine is what it is at the end of the day. And so what happens though, when we feel that, we miss the ultimate thing and get things out of order and start seeing people as less, start seeing people as lower, and we start dividing, and we start dividing, and we start dividing, and it blinds us to our ability to be compassionate. And you already hear, really, as a true Christian, as a real Christian, authentic Christian with, and I'm careful even to use those words because it'll promote, once again, I'm more valuable Christian, because as soon as we think, well, now we're hearing these new things, I'm hearing new ministry, you're hearing new things, I'm telling you, and you're like, oh, this sounds really good, what Pastor was saying. You know what? I'm learning how to love better, and love people better than anyone else. Now I have this new revelation of how to love people better, and all of a sudden you keep hearing that word better, and it'll lead you to this place to puff yourself up, because that's what knowledge does. And now you're already starting to turn into, well, this church doesn't believe exactly the way I believe. This church doesn't understand this one now new revelation I got. Well, that church has a revelation you don't have. And so it has to be this place of continuously walking in humility, because every bit of this, when you start doing factions, especially on knowledge, on what you think you know better than someone. You're going to weaponize it. You're going to turn against people, and you're going to say, well, you know what? They're da 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 in all these negative words. They're not worth saving. They're not, and it starts going down and down and down. And what you have to do is you have to step back to that, saying we all know God in part. And that is the truth. And no one is better than anybody. And just because you know a part about God that someone else doesn't know doesn't make you better. But that innate darkness on the inside of us, if we don't check it, if we don't watch it, will lead us to that place and will cause us to become calloused and cause us to become blind to just the simple fact, man, people need mercy just like you need mercy. People need compassion just like you need compassion. And people need the tenderness and gentleness and love of God just like you need in all aspects. So it is not, when we get these revelations, when we come to these understandings, when we get to know these new things in God, it's not to elevate ourselves and put ourselves against or above people. It's to say, no, if more than anything, God, I wake up to the fact that I'm humble. I can see people. I can see how much I need you. And I can see how much, not how much I do know about you, how much I still don't know about you. And let that humble you and keep you in that place. You're not better than anybody. And so all those dividing lines, all those team factors, all of those us versus them, let all that mess go. Stay out of that and say, man, I'm here for you. Because are you a person? Hey, that's the way God looks at it. And we'll get in this later when we start looking at things from a place of eternity versus things from a place of just the natural, the temporal things, and allowing those to be in its proper sequence of where it belongs and positioning. And it's going to get a lot easier. But the biggest thing is to get ourselves out of self-centeredness, to get out ourselves of me, I'm better than people, all those different things, and to step out into this place of love and compassion. So that's what I hope you guys hear today. Guard your hearts, watch yourselves. These are things this week. I'm just giving you things to take heed to, but don't become a part of just, I'm this team, so I'm against this other person, or I'm better than this other person, or to the point you can't see the humanity in someone else, because one, we forget we need people to do the same for us. All right, guys, that's all I got for you today. I'll catch you tomorrow.